If you are ready, let's start. 1. Saving will not save you. Let me give you very simple math. You make $2,000 a month and save 10% of it. That is $200 a month, $2,400 a year, and $24,000 in 10 years. On paper, that does not look terrible. But life is not lived on paper. In those 10 years, inflation eats, time passes, and opportunities move without waiting for you. Maybe you do everything right and manage to protect the value of that money. Great. But then you may lose something else. Access to people, rooms, and chances that could change your whole life. Yes, we should save money. Yes, we should have cash ready for opportunity. But that balance has to be very careful. You cannot lock yourself so hard that you cut yourself off from life, people, and possibility. That is not discipline anymore. That is fear, wearing a suit. I say this for a reason. One of the business chances that changed my life started because I overheard a conversation in a restaurant. Then I met that person. Then one door opened, and that door changed the direction of my life. So sometimes being too controlled costs you more than money. It costs you access, timing, and luck. Congrats. You cut your coffee, your trips, and your lifestyle for 10 years, and at the end you still do not have real freedom. Now think about a second scenario. You still make $2,000 a month, but this time you do not put blind saving at the center of your life. Instead, you put all your energy into building a second income stream. Freelance work, a small product, digital services, content, consulting, whatever works. 2 years later, that second stream starts making you an extra $1,000 a month. Now your total monthly income is $3,000. So tell me, who got richer? The one who saved harder, or the one who learned to produce more? Yes, you need to control stupid spending. Dumb spending is still dumb spending. But the culture of systematic saving is often not designed to grow you. It is designed to keep you inside the lines. They keep selling you one message: do not spend, just save. But the real message should often be this: do not only save, build. Is it wrong to want more? Is it wrong to earn more? Is it wrong to create more? Ask yourself those questions, but remember this: most of the people you envy today did not sit there forever drowning in those questions. 2. Debt is not your enemy. It can be your strongest weapon. Now I'm going to say something that will make your parents angry, your teachers angry, and half the fake finance experts online angry too. Borrow. But do not react too fast. Listen first. Stay away from debt. Cut your credit cards. Never borrow money in your life. Who usually says this? Usually it is people who only use debt for consumption. Their debt goes to phones, vacations, status, and useless stuff. That is not leverage. That is a chain around your neck. So where does rich people's debt go? It goes into assets, businesses, and things that can produce a return. Let's use a US-style example. Say your credit is strong and you can borrow at around 12%. You borrow $20,000 and put it into something that can return 30% in a year. At the end of the year, you make $6,000. Your borrowing cost is about $2,400. That leaves you with about $3,600 in net profit. And you did that without putting up a huge amount of your own money. That is leverage. A big part of major wealth in this world was built with leverage. Real estate was bought with bank money, companies grew with loans, and investors used debt to move faster. So when people act like debt is evil by default, understand this: they are talking from one world. Wealth is often built in a very different world. But what if it goes wrong? It can go wrong. That is why this path is not for everyone. That is why risk management matters. And that is why debt is not a toy. But the person telling you never borrow in your life usually does not grow either. He stays safe, and most of the time safe also means small. The truth is simple. Safety and wealth do not sit at the same table very often. That is hard to hear, but it is still true. And let me add one more thing. Keep your credit score high and do not destroy your relationship with banks. Because when the biggest chance of your life shows up, your best friend may not be a motivation video. It may be the bank. I am not saying that to sound cool. A big part of the work I do today was built because I used bank loans at the right time. If I did not have access to that money, I could not have made half of those moves. So yes, this idea is risky, but it is also very real. 3. Your environment is your fate, and that should bother you. Jim Rohn has a famous line: "You are the average of the 5 people closest to you." That is not a perfect scientific law, but you do not need a lab to see the basic truth behind it. If nobody around you talks about million-dollar goals, your brain stops seeing that level as realistic. And that changes more than most people understand. The human mind uses normal life around it as a reference point. If everyone around you makes $50,000 a year, then $125,000 feels extreme. But if people around you make $500,000 a year, then $125,000 starts to look like a basic starting point. That is where the whole game changes. Most of your goals are not shaped only by your talent. They are shaped by the standard you keep seeing every day. But there is also a thin line here. If you miss it, your character gets ugly. Do not throw people away just because their goals are smaller than yours. If you do that, you will look selfish, fake, and weak inside. The point is not to look down on people. The point is to notice whose voice is taking space inside your mind. Who is making you think bigger, and who is making you play smaller. I learned this the hard way. When I first went broke, I had serious debt. At that time, I was spending time with a founder friend whose business was much smaller. Let's say his yearly revenue was $100,000, while my debt was around $500,000. He looked at me in panic. He kept saying, "How are you going to pay this?" And man, this is bad. And at that time, it affected me. Because when you spend enough time around someone, you also start buying their fear. If you spend too much time with someone whose world is small, then your own risk starts to look like the end of the world, even when it is not. Today those old debts do not scare me the same way, but back then I felt crushed. And it was not only because of the debt itself, it was also because the mental size of the people around me was pulling me down. So I will ask you again, who is around you? The people who complain all day? The people who blame the system for everything? The people who say, "That does not work anymore," every time they hear a new idea? Or are you around people who are actually building, risking, and growing? Your answer to that question will shape your next 10 years. 4. Do not leave your comfort zone. Expand it. Get out of your comfort zone. How many times have you heard that line? And how many times did you get hyped up by that line? Make a huge move, hit a wall, and then run back. That happens all the time. Here is what most people do not tell you. Sudden big risks often do not push you forward. They break you. What does the brain do when it feels a real threat? It freezes, runs, or fights. And none of those three modes is great for long-term wealth building. Real growth works in a slower and more brutal way. Be just 10% more uncomfortable today. Just 10%. Send one message to someone you do not know. Make one small investment. Make one small but brave decision. Your brain can digest that. Then it starts to accept it as normal. Most people chase the big jump because the big jump looks sexy. It sounds good in a story. But in real life, most people try the big jump, crash hard, lose confidence, and then never try again. That is why slow expansion wins more often than dramatic moves. You try something and fail. That is normal. In many cases, it is unavoidable. Yes, every failure teaches you something, but it also hits your motivation hard. Then when you start something new, the same thought comes back. What if this ends like the last one? That is why you need to move carefully, not weakly. Step by step, under control, learning as you go. You may not agree with everything Warren Buffett does, and I do not worship every move he made either, but one part of his logic is strong. First, do not lose. Making profit comes second. That is not fear. That is math. If you lose 50%, you need 100% just to get back to where you started. That is why protecting yourself matters. So yes, raise your risk tolerance, but raise it slowly in a systematic way. Do not grow with stupid, no-return moves. Grow with moves you can learn from, fix, and repeat. Leave your comfort zone sounds great because motivation sells, but long-term growth does not come from hype. It comes from repeated discipline. 5. If you train your brain for easy pleasure, you will stop feeling wealth. Listen carefully to this part, because this one point can quietly destroy the other 4. Let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you were truly bored? No phone, no social media, no series, no podcast, no screen, no escape. You probably do not even remember. And that is exactly the problem. Your dopamine system works like a reward machine. Every notification, every like, every swipe throws another small coin into that machine. and in return the machine gives you a tiny and cheap hit of pleasure, quick, empty, and fake. But that system has limits. The more you train your brain on small rewards, the less it can feel big rewards. That is why things that used to excite you do not move you the same way anymore. Your brain keeps raising the threshold. And when the threshold goes up, big goals start to feel emotionally flat. You stop feeling them. Now connect that to wealth building. Wealth building is a delayed reward game. You work today and get paid later. You give up comfort now and collect the return later. But if your brain is addicted to instant reward, then the word later means nothing to you. Your brain only wants now. That is why some truly successful people limit phone use. They pull away from social media and leave open space in their day. They let themselves get bored on purpose. Because when the brain gets hungry for dopamine, it starts looking for a way out. It starts searching for something deeper. It starts trying to create, solve, and move. Then winning stops being just a nice idea. It starts feeling like the only way forward. Boredom is not empty space. Boredom is deep space. That is where creativity comes from. That is where long-term thinking comes from. That is where real strategy comes from. Chasing pleasure does not automatically make you poor, but training your brain to live on easy pleasure makes big goals feel dull and dead. And goals you cannot feel are goals you usually do not reach. That is the danger. Alright, I gave you 5 points. Do not worship saving. Put production at the center. Use debt carefully. Watch your environment. Grow step by step. Protect your brain. Are these absolute truths? No. My words are not holy. Nobody's words are holy. But at least I told you what I lived, what I saw, and what hit me in the face. I did not go to ChatGPT and ask, "Give me 5 ways to get rich," and then read the answer with a cool voice. I lived through a lot of this. I paid for it. I got hit by it. So if this video made you uncomfortable, good. That is usually where real thinking starts. And if you agreed with every single word I said, then question it even more. Because real change does not start when you instantly nod your head. It starts when you actually face an idea and fight with it a little. That is where the shift happens. If you want more finance videos in this harder, darker style, like the video and subscribe. See you in the next one.